using SketchUp, the free version, to design up some land and then add some buildings to it. And we're going to be working to scale, and we'll use millimeters as our primary unit. So let's have a look. I've gone to my browser here and I've put in search for SketchUp free, and it'll bring up, first one here is this SketchUp window. Here we are, so we're into SketchUp, and we've got products here, and we want to use SketchUp free. So straight under products, SketchUp free, I'm going to click on that one, and we're going to go to just start modeling. Okay, so click on that, and it'll take me straight in. I've signed in before. If you haven't signed in, though, you'll get a sign in or sign up. You can use the sign in with Microsoft and just use your school email address, and that'll take you straight in to using SketchUp. It'll know all your details, be really good. Okay, so I'm here at home and I'm going to create a new file like this. Now open it up, that's all good. But the first thing that I want to do when I get into the actual modeling here is I want to click on this tab over here, which has got the 3 lines. And what I want to do is I want to just come down to app settings and click on app settings and make sure that I'm set on decimal and millimeters as my primary measurement here. So you can see that we've also got the choice of centimeters and meters. We use millimeters because that's the standard architectural unit that we use in Australia. So I'll select decimal millimeters, and then I can close this. Okay, now what you'll need to do is actually start a new file again if you've had to change, which you will do if it's the first time you've used it. So just go new, and then SketchUp will create a new document automatically, and that will now be in millimeters. So the old document wouldn't have been in the right dimensions. Okay, so that is good. So now we are into our scene. I like to use a mouse, but you can use your trackpad as well. And if you use 2 fingers on your trackpad, you'll be able to zoom in and out. Whoops. You can also use, if you've got a mouse, you can scroll around like this, or otherwise you can use this rotate tool, and that'll let you rotate around the scene as well. Okay, so it's just up to you how you want to maneuver in the scene. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to have a look at creating your block of land, and in order to do that, it's probably going to be a rectangle, just depending. So I can click once, and I'll click on my origin point, and I can start dragging it out, and you can see that my rectangle is lighting up blue, and that means that it's orientated on the X and Y axis and facing up towards the blue Z axis. So it means it's horizontal to the ground. So you'll see that without clicking again, down here in the bottom right hand corner, it's got the 2 dimensions. So it's got 5409 and 6839. You can see down there. I can't move my mouse to show it to you, but what I'm going to do instead is just simply put in the dimensions. So I might make my block of land 20 meters, so that'll be 20,000. So I'm just typing it in, and it's automatically going into that dimension box down on the bottom there and I might make it by 30,000. Okay, I'll type those in, hit return, and it's made my block to size. Okay, so whenever we're working in SketchUp, by just typing in those measurements in the bottom, we can make it work. Okay, it's a really good way of working. Keep everything accurate and working nicely. It's good. Now, if this block of land, if it was a different shape than this, maybe it had, a piece of it cut away, we can rule in with this pencil. So maybe I need to take out 5,000 here. So I can just rule it in and come across like this. So just drawing with the pencil tool marks the part I want to remove, and then I can just simply, come over, grab my eraser tool, and we can erase it out. So that allows us to create different size, different shape blocks with different features. Now, one thing that's really important when you are working in SketchUp is that once you've created your block of land, you might want to group it together so your house doesn't stick to it. It means that later on you'll be able to move your house around and position it nicely on the block. So what you do is you triple click, which will light up everything that's joined together, and then we do a right click and we go, or hold down Control, and we're going to do make group. Okay, and now that that's made a group, we can start to work on top of that block without sticking the house to it. So let's have a look at creating a house on top. So I'm going to create my house over here. So I'm going to start ruling it out, and maybe this is going to be 10,000, so 10 meters by 7,000, just for starters. Okay, and I hit return. Whoops, I've got an extra 0 in there. That was a bit bad. So 10,000, comma 7,000. I had 70,000 before. Okay, and that gives me this small footprint house. Now what you can see now is if I grab my move tool, which is this cross over here, I can grab it by a corner and I can actually move it around, and it's not stuck to the block of land that we built. So it gives us a bit of flexibility. Okay, so that is the base of my house. Now what I can do now is I can grab this structure and I can use this push-pull tool, which is like a square with an arrow, and I can start to pull that up, and I can set my height of, think of this as your ceiling height. So you might set that at about maybe 3,200 millimeters, something like that will give us a good starting height. So that gives us our basic structure, and then we can start to look at adding the roof into this structure. We can use the pencil tool to do that as well. So let's first click on this. What we might do is delete this ceiling out of it. So and then we can add the roof in. Okay, so this is our basic wall structure. We'll add more detail to that in a bit, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that triple click again, and then I'm going to go, I'm going to make that as a group as well. Now, if you can't find group, SketchUp's got this really good little search tool up here. I could go group, and you'll see that it can find all these details up in here, and you just click on make group and it'll do it for you. Okay, so I've made the building, and what I'm going to do is make the roof as a separate group, and the reason for that is that later I can turn the group on, the visibility on and off, so I could see down into my building. I could put furniture in it, move it around, and then I could turn the roof back on again. So it just makes it easier to work with. So what I might do here is I might come along and I'm going to put in a bit of a ceiling for the moment. And then I'm going to grab this tool down here, which I'll show you, which is the offset tool. And the offset tool, we're going to put some eaves on our house. So they're the overhangs that protect the structure of the building from sun and rain. And so what I'm going to do is actually bring this out like this, and I can come out with our eaves. We might come out 600. Okay, and so I type it in, and we can see now it's started to build a structure for our roof. That's good. Okay, so what I can do is I can build up from this. Now we can build any style of roof that you want to, but I'll show you just a really basic roof structure that you could start to work with. So I'm going to come up from the center point here, and you can see that when I'm using the pencil tool, when it's on the blue axis, that's going vertically. When I push it over and I get it on the green axis, you can see that it's moving horizontally, and on the red axis, it's moving out this way. Now, if I'm moving up on the blue axis, or if I can't quite get it, I can push my up arrow on my keyboard, and you can see now that it's forcing it onto the blue axis. So that makes things a little bit easier. So I've got it sitting there on the blue axis, and I might add in, say, an 1800 pitch roof or height roof. So I just hit return, okay, and then I can draw in my triangle like this. Okay, so this is going to be one end of the roof structure. That's cool. And then I can click over here on this point, and I can start moving it. I want it to move on this red axis. So what if I push my side left arrow, so that's green, push my other one, my right, and it's red, so it moves out. So now that it's stuck on that axis, I can just touch, so this is called inferencing. I can touch the end where I want it to be the same length as, click on that, and it's going to give me that what I'm after there, and then I can start to just fill these in, okay? And you can see that now I've got a basic roof structure on my building, and I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to triple click it, and I'm going to go make group, okay? So making it as a group makes it a little bit, means that we can move it away if we want to, or we can hide it, and then we can bring it back later on. Okay, so what we can go do up here is, if we went hide, okay, we can go hide, and it'll hide, so then we'd be able to put some furniture in here, and then we can go show and view hidden objects, okay, and we can see our object is back, and that is not too bad, okay. We'll turn it back on a bit later on. So we've got this visibility tab here, we've got hidden geometry, and we can turn everything, sort of click on unhide all, and that will unhide everything, properly. So there's a few different ways that we can hide and show geometry. Now, what you'll notice that as you're working, you'll get lines like these. Now, this piece of this line here isn't important, so we can, actually need to double click to go inside this. We could just erase that line there if you didn't like it, because it's not really necessary for the geometry. But you can see that this line here, it's critical to the way that the roof folds over. If I was to delete that one, it would delete the whole roof. So that's, you got to be a little bit careful about what you delete with these. That's fine. So I'm going to go out of that group by just clicking on the background, and I'll draw some a door into this structure. So what I'm going to do is, I like to use my pencil tool. I'm going to say come in 500, hit return, okay, and you can see it drew this point here. So I'm going to start drawing up on the wall surface. Actually, but what I should do before I do that is double click to go into the group. So once I'm drawing in the group, it'll actually make the door on the build into the wall, which is a bit of a better way to go. 2100 for our door height. It's not super high, but it's okay. A lot of doors are like 900 wide, which is okay. But if we go up to 1200 wide front door, that means that we've got good access for a wheelchair. So that is what we want. We don't want to exclude anyone from our building. So we've got a nice, good access doorway there. Excellent. And we can build a door in that. So we might choose to initially just use our offset tool that we used before. Let's grab our offset and we'll just bring this in a little bit so we can offset our door. And then we can start to put some glass in that. So we'll have a look at that next as we go along. If we want to add windows, we can add them in, say, at the same height as this one. We could choose how far to rule across to start it. So I might go 1,000. Okay, so let's just grab that one and I'm going to click across and I might make a 3,000 wide window. That's good. And then I can just kind of like set the height of my window. I might make it, say, 1,800. So it doesn't quite reach the ground. I can come along on my red and you can see here I can draw this back in. That's good. And then I'm going to just click on this and I might start to divide my window up. So let me just click on this once and then I'm going to grab that offset tool again and I might offset a bit of a frame into my window. So I usually like to make it kind of metric, so I'm going to go and kind of standard increments. So I'm going to go 50 mils, that's fine. And then I might then go here through the midpoint, draw this down, and then I might draw the sash of an opening part of my window. So again, I'm going to grab that offset tool and I'm going to come into, actually I'll use my, what I'll do is grab just that panel, which is what I want to go into. I'm going to grab my offset tool and then I'm going to be able to come in and go another 50 mil and that will create the window. Okay, so I've now got a window and door in my structure. And what I can do is come over to these cubes, and if you click on the cubes here, actually it's the next cube down, it's the single cube. If I click on the search icon here, you'll see that we've got some materials. I can come down to glass and mirrors. I can grab, say, this blue material, and then it gives me this paint bucket, and I can like paint in my glass here. My door, I could paint that in actually, but I'll put a door frame on that first. So I'll make sure I grab that. I'll grab my offset tool and I'm just going to grab that here now. And then I can set in my door frame a little bit and I'll put glass in my door. So again, I'll grab that, get the paint bucket, and you can see now I'm starting to build up the exterior of my house. And I can sort of rub this away. That's cool. Okay, so we've got a basic house structure. You can go around, put your windows in, see how it's looking. Now, if you're you might be starting to think about how the sun works on your house. You can come down to this set of glasses icon here, and we can turn on shadows, which is here somewhere. Okay, just scroll down and you'll find it's got shadows off. So if I turn on the shadows and I change the time, then I'm able to start adjusting the way that the sun projects onto the house. We're able to see, do we need some shade out the front? Do we need, extra windows, etc. So we can work all that out as we go along. So that is like a basic structure. The proportion of the door and windows is not looking that great on the house at the moment, so we need to kind of work on maybe the aesthetics a bit later on, but we've got the basic structure coming together. So we can also, don't forget, we can click on the block here, the block of ground, and we could, you could color that however you wanted. We've got landscaping and vegetation, so we could add, say, grass to that. And then the roof, we might click on the roof, and there's one for roofing. Glass and mirrors, carpet, brick, cladding, siding, asphalt, concrete. Somewhere we've got roofing, here we go. So you can grab some roofing if you want to. The roofing's not the greatest looking, but it's all right. And you can start to, give your house some texture and life as well. So that is basically how you build something to scale and get it looking decent. It takes a bit of practice, but it's a good way to go. Now, if you wanted to, you can, if you needed to know the measurements of anything, you can use this tape measure, and that'll tell you. You can just click point to point, and you'll see it tells you down here or next to the tape measure. And if you wanted to add dimensions, you can also click on a couple of points like this, and then you're able to raise up and show what the dimension of this part of the block is. So that's a really handy thing as well if you're creating drawings, that you can show the scale to the viewer so they can understand what you're drawing. So I think that's some good basic tools to get you going. There's a lot more within SketchUp, but I think if you follow that along, you'll be well underway. So thanks for your time.